Max, we're rolling.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all.
Happy New Year to all. Max, so today we're talking about sales. You used to sell used cars, right?
I did, and I was damn good at it, son.
What were your
number one car salesman west of the Mississippi?
What were your keys to selling used cars? Like when you saw a client in, like what were you thinking? Like
threats, mostly threats. I'd find out what they valued most in life, and I would threaten to take that from them if they didn't buy the car.
Would you try to get them on like 25% APR with like an 8-year?
Standard operating procedures for me. I would mostly focus on those people that I could victimize and get them into any kind of car I could. Old Ford Taurus, 25 years old, 380,000 miles on it.
Tons of mileage left.
It's death trap. One of the wheels only had one lug nut on it. But I would get that family of 4 in there, no problem. Single moms, that's what I'd go for. Right?
And you get them to celebrate on the way out, right? Yep. That's what I heard.
Yeah. You don't get this car, that kid's probably not going to make it.
No, right? Not in Montana at least.
It's pretty standard to take out a second mortgage to get a car.
Oh, yeah, a HELOC.
Yeah,
right?
It's a HELOC.
Don't you, getting people to buy cars with their HELOC?
Yeah, $1,200 a month payment, 28% interest. It's 79 months. 179 months is what I specialized in. Long-term loans.
Those long-term loans with tons of it, to the point where you paid 4x the amount of interest in what the car cost.
Yeah, I sold the Ford Taurus and made $100,000 off of the loans.
To be fair, Max never sold cars.
Never sold a car in my life.
But it's funny because that does take us into the topic I want to hit, which is sales. And I find that sales gets a bad rap because of used car salesmen.
Oh, yeah.
Like you.
Yeah, like me. Well, sales feels, I think people have a perception of sales as you have to like bully someone or convince someone to buy something. You're going to get on a call and oh shit, it's high pressure. Like, why don't you do it? You said this is good for you. Like, it's like a sort of scummy, weird feeling. One, because I think a lot of coaches and a lot of people don't have a super high opinion, or they feel like a little bit like awkward, sort of like promoting their product or promoting themselves. And two, it's like, sales just has sort of a weird rap of like, it's kind of scummy to like convince someone to buy something, or that's what you're doing. Yeah.
And I think, so I've talked about my like sales experience. So my first job was NutriShop.
Yeah.
So selling supplements to people. In fact, this is kind of, well, I was 17 years old at the time, or 16.
Oh,
I saw one time.
It's not legal. Hold on.
Oh, I saw one time my the manager at the time like raised prices on vitamin C or something to make more of a profit margin. So I was like, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. So then every time when someone would walk in, if they drove an Audi and they were wearing a suit after work, like all of a sudden all the prices went up 20%.
Nice.
And I started making way more
you would raise the prices?
I would raise the prices. Because there's no prices listed on the counter. So you could just like, they would come up and be like, oh, how much is all this? Because you would just wheel and deal and be like, oh, 3 of those is 25% off, and then ring it up at the counter. So I'd be like, oh, this is, that pre-workout's $58.99, when in reality it was like usually $48.99.
Nice.
And it all would add up at the end. When I got in trouble was when someone came to return something, the guy returned it and he was like, all right, here's like $48. And the guy's like, wait, I paid $60 for this. And so the owner calls me and I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, and the owner kind of did one of those like, it's kind of like when you do something, your mom's mad at you, but your dad walks in and like tells you like, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Probably like when, you picked up your first magazine, your certain type of magazine, or the video store.
The Outdoorsman's magazine?
Exactly. But you kind of.
Digest?
Exactly. That one.
Okay.
Exactly. It shows just biologics and nature and all that stuff. But he sort of said, I see what you're doing, but we can't do that.
Yeah.
And so I then stopped doing that. But that was my first, I started to learn how to sell, how to talk to people. And you're in the store alone. From there, worked front desk at gyms, gym sales, and then got into doing actual like sales training, selling high ticket offers. So I've sold offers that are $20,000. I've sold offers that are like $5,000 a month. I have a lot of like, I'm kind of like a hired gun salesperson for an agency. I really enjoy sales.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot about sales through growing the gym. And so I want to spend some time talking about the sales process for running a gym or coaching business, because all the same principles apply no matter what you're selling.
Right.
And I really want to dispel those feelings of that griminess or sleaziness, unless you are doing what I used to do at 17, which is raising prices. But I didn't know better. I didn't have a moral compass yet.
Of course.
Don't you? What's the front part of the brain that doesn't? You can't rent a car until you're 25 because it's not your hippocampus.
Cerebral cortex.
Yeah,
that's
your frontal lobe. Thank you. Your frontal lobe. My frontal lobe had
on this podcast. You're fired.
Yeah. That's like our. She's like our Joe Rogan's Jessie or whatever it is, right?
Jamie.
Pull
up that frontal cortex.
Pull that frontal. Yeah, the
pull
frontal
it up
lobe
for us.
So it wasn't developed. So anything I did before 25 is moot anyway.
It's excusable,
including starting my gym at 20. But that's probably why I did it. ultimately, there's some steps to sales. And I think we can just kind of dive right into it. Stay tactical today.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You gonna sell me something?
I might sell you something. So let's first talk about sales and like what sales should really look like. So in a coaching capacity, sales should really look like understanding what your client, what your prospective or your prospect wants, and all you're doing is connecting the dots and educating them on what your solution is and how you can help them get there.
Yeah.
The best way to set yourself up for a great sale is to do some like pre-meeting or pre-sale homework. Yeah. And so what that could look like is asking them maybe in an email or a text to fill this out. And it's some questions on, if it's for coaching, what are your coaching goals? Who, have you worked with a coach before? If so, who was it or why did you leave? And a lot of times they'll say Max, and it's because of all these weird reasons.
Classic.
3 a.m. text being like, you up?
You got squats.
Yeah, you got squats. Are you up? And just understanding. The other question I actually like to ask is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important are these goals to you?
Yeah.
Get really clear on, if they say 5 out of 10, it's like, dude, what are we doing here?
Right.
Might as well just leave and continue on your path.
Right.
But if they say 8 or 9 or 10 out of 10, it's like, it's important to them. And you don't use that as ammo, but it shows you how motivated they are to make a change, make a difference.
Right.
And so that would be step 1. And I would say that can come in the form of, if you use a CRM, that should be automated after they book a call. If you don't, and if you're just a one-on-one coach, that's pretty easy to send a text before you guys meet to confirm. And it gets people more bought into showing up. It'll increase your show rate and it'll increase your buy-in rate on that call, so that you at least have something to go off of. Step 2, so getting on the call, I find it really important to build rapport. We don't want to just dive into how cool we are. I know that's what you do.
Yeah.
I've been coaching for 20 years and I coach champions.
Yeah,
why would I want to work with you?
Yeah, convince me to work with you.
Exactly.
That's my sales call.
But ultimately, it's building rapport. It's, getting to know who they are. I mean, at the gym, if someone walked in like a Rams jersey and I'm a Seahawks fan, I'd start talking crap on their team.
Right.
Just to bro out a little bit. If they're a dude, if it's a woman, they don't like sports, I'm kind of at a loss there.
Yeah.
I go, I love Sephora, and talk about makeup and stuff. No, but it's
the most stereotypical bad things you can say. Drop a couple racial slurs.
Little slurs that never hurt anyone, and
slimy.
So it's understanding who you're working with and the type of person they are, and treating them like human beings.
Right.
I think the key is just treating people like humans.
Yeah. I've been on a few sales calls with you, and it's impressive your ability to right off the bat start to discuss, like you're starting to ask them questions about what they need. Yeah. And like when you're on that call, you realize it is just a conversation. It's just that with sales, it feels like the conversation is structured in a way for you to get the information you need to see if you can provide the thing that they're looking for, right? And it's like you're saying, you'll ask them kind of like right off the bat. For selling Coach Logic, it's like, how many people are you coaching? How are you doing it? What's this going on? Because then you're getting sort of a frame for what is this person doing? Do we have the solution for them? If they said, I coach one person and I don't want to do more, you might be like, I don't know if this platform is really right for you. Yeah.
And that's okay. You don't have to sell everyone that comes on,
right,
or you don't have to sell everyone that comes into your gym or meets with you. If you are a barbell coach and you specifically coach like people that want to compete, I would urge you to coach people that don't want to compete as well if you want to grow a business. But if someone comes to you and they don't want to compete and that's all you do, it's like that. Refer them out to someone else that you trust. It should be conversational. I'm super extroverted. You know this. Mm-hmm. I can yap and yap and yap. Even when you met me when I was 17 years old on that app that we connected.
Well, I bought some supplements from you. I think I overpaid.
Yeah, you probably overpaid, but I like having those I like understanding people, what their pain points are, and how I can help if I can.
Right.
And so sales, so let's do this. Sales is I always say the steps wrong. I think sales is a 7-step process. Let's see if I stay accounted to the 7 steps here. Yes. So step 1 is building rapport.
Right.
And we're talking in the call. So step 1 is building rapport. Step 2 is ask probing questions. So asking thought-provoking, deep, what does this mean to you? What are you trying to accomplish? Getting really, really clear on what someone wants out of this relationship, so that when you are going to talk about the cool stuff that you offer, you can connect the dots of what they need to what you are providing,
right,
and show them that this is the path forward for them. So provoking questions, you can list out a bunch of them. I like, usually around 5-ish to 7. It just shows you care.
Right.
And this allows them to talk and just let them talk.
Right.
I'd say a key mistake that a lot of coaches make when selling, they talk more than the prospect. You should actually be talking a third of the time.
That's me. For sure.
No, it's not. You don't say words. Is it actually you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like
true.
a lot of times I was talking too much about what I'm doing, and I'm thinking too much about like, here's what I do and here's all these things. And it's like, instead of saying like, okay, tell me what you're looking for, let me show you the solution to that. And then letting them ask questions about it.
Yeah, I remember one of the first Coach Logic demo calls we took together.
That was brutal.
I asked some questions and had you kind of go into the demo portion as I was kind of learning the app and stuff. And you were on like feature 8
I know,
of like how cool it was. Yeah. And I was like,
too much.
I think I cut it off. I was like, and that's, cool. And then so, I go back to sort of the selling portion. But after that call, we talked. I was like, look, like, I know that this app, you love this app and it's amazing. And there's so many cool features you want to share. But I think we should highlight 2 or 3 that align with the client's pain points. And you had hit that initially. And so then you start to sort of lose momentum if you keep going on and on and on. And so those deep thought-provoking questions, those probing questions are really important to set you up for success. Step 3 is holding the mirror up. So holding the mirror up, it's a step that many people miss. They'll go in, they'll just start asking questions, and they'll kind of dive into, I'll call it the pitch, what you've got going on. It's holding the mirror up and saying, so Max, what I'm hearing from you, and we'll talk about this from a coaching standpoint, what I'm hearing from you is your last coach had you squatting 10 by 10 every single day and your knees exploded. Mm-hmm. You no longer have legs and you're in a wheelchair. Yep. That sucks, but hey, it's what we're dealing with. What you would like to do is you'd like to qualify for the Special Olympics and bench press and be
Paralympics. Special Olympics a little bit different.
Okay,
but yeah.
It's all good. Paralympics are special. Hold it near and dear to my heart because that's where I would compete with my knees. But what I'm hearing from you is you want to lose some weight, you want to gain some strength, you're looking to compete in 6 to 12 months. You've been dealing with this back pain and you want to make sure that you're lifting, your technique is proper so that you don't hurt your back if you make some progress. Yep. And you've had some issues with coaches in the past where maybe they don't make changes to the program that you ask for and continue to put in accessory work that you said you don't like to do. Yep. Does that sound about right?
100%.
And they'll say 100%. Yep. I was coached by Max Ada. I got to stop with my comedy. I keep going.
Awesome.
But no, they'll say 100%. And then maybe they expand on something. You're like, yeah, and they'll give you like an and. Right. And then you can do it again. Okay, so I'm hearing, obviously I already mentioned all the other stuff, but also what I'm hearing is you also want to make sure that you are ripped for the summer so that you can look good on the beach and hopefully find a suitable mate. Yep. And they'll be like, absolutely. And I'm like, cool, awesome. Let's move into how I think we can help you or how we can help you. Don't say I think, be assumptive. Right. And then you go into what you do. And what's important on the what you do aspect is that actually should make up a smaller portion of the time together. And so it should be very clear on maybe the 3 main features that your coaching offers, whether it's, so what we do is this is how I build this is how I build clients programming. This is what our onboarding process looks like. This is how you'll get feedback and how I'm going to help you and how we'll make changes to the program to get you to see success. And then, from there, this is how we operate and do this, that, and the other thing. If you do nutrition, you can talk about that. If you do, whatever it is, you can kind of go into those extra features, extra details as well. And ask them if, hey, so I know I just covered all this. I know we kind of went pretty quickly. Do you have any questions for me? Mm-hmm. And there they might bring up, some questions about the thing. The reason we ask that there is when we go to pricing, you don't want them to start asking more questions. You lose momentum for the sale.
Right.
Who's the guy Wolf of Wall Street was about?
Oh, Jordan Belfort.
Jordan Belfort. I almost said Jordan Peterson, but 2 very different people. Jordan Belfort actually has a book that I read when I was younger called Straight Line Selling. Uh-huh. And now I know he's kind of like a schmuck or whatever. But one of the things he talks about is sales is building momentum to a peak. And so if we get to the pricing and then there's more questions, it distracts us from the goal that we're trying to get. We're trying to stay in a straight line to the end goal, which is make a conversion.
Right.
And so we want to make sure all the questions are out of the way. They're educated, they're knowledgeable on what you're offering and how you do things. And you've answered maybe questions where they were like, well, so if I submit feedback like this, will I get this? Like you've answered all of their issues that could come up at any point. You've solved all the problems. So that the only thing you'll run into from the pricing standpoint could be some sort of price objection or other objections in disguise. So you ask, do you have any other questions? Nope. Cool. We move on. Sweet. So these are the plans I offer. Now this could be a topic for another podcast within itself, but when it comes to offerings, I like the idea of either a good, better, best or an either or.
Right.
So it's choose your door or it's a good, better, best. And the key here is being really prescriptive with what you suggest. So I'll use SoCal Powerlifting as an example. We have 3 options. One is just like a hybrid for in-person coaching. One's like a hybrid model where you just get pretty much online coaching with gym access. One is online coaching, gym access plus a session, and one is online coaching plus gym access plus like 2 sessions.
Okay.
What we do is if we know that the client really needs help, they're more of a beginner, we're going to focus on the top 2 plans. We're not even going to talk about the third one because like we know they need the help.
Right.
And so we stay within the confines of the 2. A big mistake I see a lot of coaches make when it comes to selling and showing their plans is they'll open up the presentation. There's like 3 options and they'll just be like, ta-da, like, so which one do you want? You know? And then there's just paralysis by analysis and it gets clunky. So being like, here, based on Max, you told me that you just started lifting weights and you're trying to get strong and stay healthy. Your goals are X, Y, Z. I'm going to recommend either our club or our pro plan so that we can at least see you once a month in person or twice a month. Once a month will allow us to do X, Y, and Z and make sure our technique is good here and there. Twice a month will allow us to touch on these things that we definitely should probably focus on as you're just starting out and just make sure that we deliver the best programming possible for you. With that being said, like which one's the best? Which one will work best for you?
Right.
Then it puts it in your corner where you kind of have either or. Now, in a perfect world, they're going to pick one of the doors, but usually you're going to get objections. So this is what, are we on step 5 now? Step 5 is objection handling. And so a common objection may be, I really need to think about it. I need to think about it. You're never going to see that person again if they need to think about it.
Right.
So I'm totally fine with that being an objection, but we need to start to really get clear on what the objection is. So a quick one on that would be like, Max, I totally understand. Out of curiosity, just because I'm here to answer all your questions, what in particular do you need to think about? And it could be an answer of, I've lined up 2 other coaching calls. Like if it's an educated client, maybe they have 2 more consultations with other coaches. And I want to then understand and uncover what they're looking for. Like, is there anything that we're doing that you wish we did? And maybe like we don't offer nutrition anymore. So like I had one client not sign up because they're looking for a coach that also can give them nutrition. And okay, it's just maybe not the right fit.
Sure. Yeah.
Other things could be I need to talk to my wife. Other things could be, it's not the right time. I'm really busy right now. There's a lot of ways to handle these objections. Like the busy one's easy. That could be one where it's like, look, you're always going to be busy. Life is continuously busy. If you can prove to yourself that you commit to a plan like this in the busy times of your life, it'll be so much easier in the easier times. So it's really important we stay accountable and we're able to do these things. And so there's so many, I could do a whole pod on objection handling, but that's just a key piece to it is getting really clear on what the objection is. Think about it as not an objection. It's usually a price objection. It's the offer rejection where it's like it's not the right offer for them. The service isn't the correct offering. But those are like the 2 main ones we see. And then everything else I would say is a objection in disguise where there's actually another reason that we need to uncover. And I'll sit there and talk them through it until I get clearly what the objection is so that maybe I need to make my offer better. My coaching isn't good. My structure isn't great. From there, after objection handling, we then go into close and setup. So 6-step process. I said 7 is 6, but that's the steps of the sales process. So what questions do you have about my sales process, Max?
So the first thing I have is more like, let's say you're really new to this, right? You're just getting started, or maybe you've kind of had some success as far as getting clients just from wherever, and you're kind of known, people kind of reach out to you here and there. Like what's the level of like, if I'm going to break this down to make it a little bit simpler for a brand new person selling, where should I focus my, like, should I, for example, like, should I kind of like try to create more of a structure and outline and script for myself to follow? Should I like just learn what each step is in detail and try to wing it as I go through? Like, is there a best practices for someone who's new to selling to get to apply these things, maybe not all in entirety, or what do you think makes sense?
Yeah, so I think one of the things coaches can do immediately to increase their sales or increase their sales closing rate would be have your probing questions scripted. So you should have a set of 5 to 7 questions you're going to ask on the call, and that should just be in a Word doc up on your screen or even in your notes in your notebook, where you know to ask those questions and ideally note their answers down so you can refer back to them.
So in a sense, like let's say we're doing these questions, the way I think about it, tell me if this makes sense, is like I would say I'm trying to discover this information, because if I have this information, I can better show them the offering I have that's going to fit them. So I'd go from the answers and work backward to the question and then use those questions. So maybe I would say like, what I need to know is like, what is, whatever, what is your desire in the sport? What are you trying to do in with coaching? What is your, what is your feeling on these things? And then sort of like, okay, now the questions are, obvious when I know what I'm trying to get out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you think there's like standardized probing questions you should have?
I think there's standardized probing questions.
Okay.
For
would those
coaching,
be?
I mean, ultimately it would be the question of, why did you reach out to us?
Right.
And getting clear on what that is. And then number 2 can easily be kind of, even if you have a pre-call homework, even if you've already asked, it would be, you noted that this is an 8 out of 10 of importance to you. Why is it an 8 out of 10? Or if you didn't ask that question on some pre-call homework, it would be on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this to you? And then the follow-up of why. So understanding the why.
So the first question would be, how important is it to you to reach your goals?
Yes.
Then why do you want to reach your goals?
Yeah.
And
from there, we can kind of go, it depends on your ideal client. For many, it can be, what do these goals mean to you? It's very goal based, because we want to get that as like sort of ammo to then back us up when we're like connecting the dots to our offer. It could also be like, what have you tried before? If you're new to powerlifting or weightlifting, it's like, why did you get into this sport?
Right.
What are you looking to get out of it? What are key qualities that you're looking for in a coach?
Right.
Did you have a coach before? How did that go? Why did you leave? Like we talked about, that one is always a good one. From there, I mean, you have a good amount. Like, I'd say there's probably more you could ask as like follow-ups if you want deeper thought-provoking answers. But those would be like your most probably basic questions to get you down the road of knowing that, hey, this service is the right fit for this person. I'll be able to touch on these, or, like, this may not be the right fit and we might be wasting our time here.
Right. So ultimately what you're trying to do with probing questions, to me, it sounds like, is you're trying to qualify this person a little bit more to be like, what is it that this means to them? If they're very casual and it's more just like, hey, I just want to like learn to lift, and in 3 months I'm going to leave because I just want to work out at home, versus like, this is the most important thing in the world to me. I really want to be a good power lifter, and everything on the line, this is it. You kind of get an idea of what they're really trying to get at with this. So it helps you sort of dial in, I guess, like, what's the step that, like, you get the output from these questions. What do you do with that info?
So let's say like our offer for like coaching is the same. It's you get feedback, you get, if it's in person, you get gym access, you get, these coaching sessions. And whether the person comes in and wants to be the next John Hack, or they want to just be healthy and feel good, the service is the same, but it's the way you describe the service.
Right.
So like, if someone comes in, they really want to compete in powerlifting, I'm going to talk about how our services, the clients that we've helped achieve great goals, and how we're going to build a program that allows them to reach certain echelons of success in powerlifting. And how our programs are going to help them, accomplish their goals and win meets and all that stuff, and what we do and how we write peaking blocks and things like that. I'm going to kind of get into more of the granular stuff. If they're just trying to get healthy and feel good and move well, I'm going to talk about how the sessions really help them with their technique, ensuring that they're maintaining core stability and we're making sure that we're not getting injured. I'm going to talk about how they're going to feel confidence in the gym and feel like they belong in a community. So I'm going to touch on the specific features of the offer that best align with what the client is looking for. It's similar to what we talked about with Coach Logic. It's like, hey, Max, choose 3 features that align. If someone isn't giving video feedback or tracking data, like, we like to ask those questions now and show them those tools. If someone just isn't managing their client messages very well, we're going to talk about the messaging capabilities and groups and stuff. So it's just, you pinpoint the top 3 things, so you're not talking for an hour, that you guys that we offer that allows the client to see success.
Right. So it sounds like really what sales is doing is it's investigation into how you can provide a solution to the problems they have.
Yes.
And the problems are, whether they're perceived or they're real or whatever, it's more just like, this is what I'm trying to get out of this, is this solution to this thing, which is, I need coaching, or I need to be good at powerlifting, or I want to be, more ripped, or I want to be taller, or whatever it is. Right. And then you're connecting the dots, like you say, to our solution to what you described as this. And to be like, the question I ask is like, let's say you don't think that your solution aligns with their problem. Yeah. They're like, hey, I'm really into powerlifting, but I want to compete in multiply. Yeah. And like, I only want to do it that way, and I need to train as Westside Barbell. I need to do all this stuff. How are we going to, like, can you do that? Can you give me that offering? You could, on one side say like, yeah, sure, but that's not your product, right? Yeah. So in those cases, do you think it makes sense? Like, what would you do if you don't feel like your solution, your offering, it really matches with the client? What do you do?
I wouldn't try to force it.
So you just say that's, I don't think this will work, like, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a good example. When I first started like coaching and had the gym, I'd have prospects come in that were really looking for personal training and not like the model that we had, which is more that hybrid model. And I would maybe, I needed the buck or wanted the buck. So like, I would be like, no worries, I'll sell you a bunch of sessions. And I'd go to execute the sessions. But if I was executing them, the amount of drain I had executing the sessions over and over again, it just took away from the creative elements and capacity I had to be successful in all the other things to help grow and scale and get 10 more of the clients that actually do fit the program. And so you just have to say, hey, like, we focus on coaching raw lifters, and unfortunately, like multiply, we don't have experience with. You're probably going to have a better, experience if you go with this gym over here.
Right.
And it's just being honest. I wouldn't take clients on that are a bad fit because it'll drain you of your energy and take more time away from other clients that you could be growing with and building and all that stuff and having fun doing what you do.
Right. And also on the way out, multiply lifters, you should stop.
Yes.
You're a bad person for doing that.
Yes. The three of you that are
left. So you hang up the phone on Dave Hoff because that's the last one. Then you say to yourself as a salesperson, I guess maybe this is something that a lot of coaches are in this position of scarcity mindset of like, it's difficult to just organically drum up business as a remote coach or an online coach now, or any kind of coach, especially in these like more niche spaces like weightlifting and powerlifting. So they might come from the position of like, well, what degree of us not fitting with my solution and their problem is okay. Like, if I'm a weightlifting coach and someone comes to me for powerlifting, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
But if they're like, I want to get stronger, and you're like, well, I do powerlifting, that could kind of fit, and it's like sort of there. Like, do you think that it makes sense for people to not pursue anything if it doesn't fit exactly? Or like, what would you tell somebody who's like, I get sales calls, but a lot of them are for things that I don't offer or maybe don't completely offer? Is there a solution for them?
Yeah, I mean, usually when you're starting out, the people who find you had to dig to find you, and so you actually have really good qualified leads that
right.
you should have a high close rate, like prospect to client conversion rate. But once you start getting more volume, you may get some of those people on the edges of your ideal client persona or avatar. And so I would say is if you can reflect and be like, I'll enjoy servicing this person, or my team will enjoy working with this person, we can make it work. Go ahead and do it. Also, the only way to figure all that stuff out is just doing that. So like,
right.
Yeah, in the beginning, take the client on that may not fit your main offer, and you may find some gold there and be like, oh, actually, I work with these people really well, this demographic really well.
Right.
So do it, try it out, but then be realistic, because also, that person could turn into a bad Google or Yelp review if you have a gym, if they have a poor experience because you're not delivering on your promises. Mm-hmm. It can turn into where you resent the time with them and it turns into a sour relationship. So you want to avoid those red flags, those things. But I don't think there's any downside to, in the beginning when you're just starting out, taking on the people in a bunch of different demographics to figure out what should my offer really be. So almost curating your offer to, once you create the ideal client avatar, once you start and have some momentum, then you can kind of start to niche down even more. But it's okay to start a little bit more broad in that sense and take those calls. And it's also a good experience. Like, every sales call is a learning experience.
Yeah.
To get better, to train, to be better, and talk with more people and understand what people need.
So here's a question. I'm learning to do sales. I'm in the process of this. I'm a one-off dude. I've got, 30 clients or 25. I'm trying to get to 50. I want to do this full time, and I'm willing to learn, but I have a little bit of hangups around the language I'm using, and it feels like I feel uncomfortable kind of making these sort of like sort of that like sale at the end, the close, like where I'm like, I can show them what I do and tell them about it, but then I don't know where to go for the next level of like, all right, well, are you ready to buy?
Yeah.
How do I get over that, or what are your best practices for like maybe picking that skill up?
Yeah, practice. Like,
right.
So, I mean, you could do like a mock sale with your friends and like play around with it that way. But honestly, just the repetitions. It's
right.
doing enough calls where like there's just no shame. And the other thing too is if you're doing the first parts of the steps, like before you even get to here's my offer, which one do you prefer, whatever. If you've built up so much momentum where and the conversation has flowed and we've gathered all of our notes and we know exactly what they're looking for, those feelings should go away. I find those feelings arise when it's like we didn't do the previous steps.
Right.
And then we're anxious about, okay, now I'm going to have to deal with all these questions here and then it's going to get clunky and things like that. So repetitions is number one. And then I'd say number two, ensuring that your steps are being done and documented, and we're building momentum into that closed portion of the sale.
Right. So recording your calls?
Record all your calls. So I would say coaches should record their sales calls and review how they did. Understand when a client doesn't close, especially rewatch those calls. Right. Understand why. Was it a bad fit, or did we fumble a little bit? And not be afraid to do the repetitions of the sale and be shameless about it. We talk about like those door-to-door salespeople, but like Mormons make the best door-to-door salespeople. Right. Why? Because on their mission trips, that's all they had to do. Yeah. And they just knock, 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 and just keep going. Thousands and thousands of rejection. Right? Yeah. Exactly. You're going to have tons of rejection. And rejection is like, it's anti who we are. We don't want rejection in any capacity.
Right.
But ultimately, that's what's going to get you to a place where you're so confident that it just flows. And it really should feel conversational and it shouldn't feel this like super high stakes.
Right.
We should dispel those feelings. But the only way to do that is to do the repetitions.
That's cool. That makes a lot of sense, because I think a lot of people would have that sort of hang up where it's like they can get to that point where it's like, hey, I got to sell this, but then they're like, okay, the next layer of that is like, okay, well, let's try to close this sale. Yeah. And it feels awkward. And it sounds like what you're saying, which makes sense, is you probably aren't leading up to that point in a natural way. Yeah. And then when you get there, it feels forced or awkward to you, because it doesn't connect, right?
Absolutely.
Here's a question, like from an offering standpoint. When you're putting together your offering and your packages of whatever, it's easy to say, I do this for this much money. Yeah. It's remote coaching. It's $200 a month. That's my offer. And it includes this, this, and this. There's no anchoring of like, well, is that a good deal or a bad deal? There's also kind of like no sense of like choice. Maybe they don't have a lot of choice, but it's like, you're kind of just saying, this is what I do, that's it. Do you think that pricing and like sort of modeling out your offerings is a big part of sales or contributes to sales if you say, like price anchor by saying like, well, I've got this version of remote coaching, which is $350 a month, and it's a check-in every week and a phone call, and I send you a letter every, month, handwritten with a picture of me. But for $200 a month, this is the more standard one, which I think makes sense for you. Or do you think that's not as important?
I think having a price anchor is actually could be solid. That's why I like a good, better, best offering.
Right.
And the best could be your most expensive. You get every bell and whistle. You get 24/7 chat with me. Call me at 3 a.m. I'll answer. But it's so ridiculous in price that you only have one person on that plan.
Right.
The rest kind of go for the middle option.
Yeah.
That's like with good, better, best. Most people just end up in the middle.
Yeah.
With an either or, like you'll find honestly it's a pretty good distribution between the two. It's almost like a 50-50.
So what's the difference between like good, better, best and either or? How would I, like for remote coaching, how would I build those out? Like,
so I'll give you an example. Like a good, better, best for remote coaching could be the best offer gets you everything plus like nutrition.
Okay.
The good offer is like, or better offer could be all the coaching, no nutrition, but you get like your check-ins, all the stuff. The good, so good, better, best. So good offer could be, we only, instead of check-ins every day, you do a weekly thing where I check in weekly, send you a video on your program, see how you're doing. So like you're taking away something in the offer that is with a value to it that show like that allows that amount of money to be taken off and then to go into that offering. So like the reason we also like to do that is like, yeah, if someone needs nutrition and stuff, like, yeah, they should go with the best offer. If that nutrition isn't valuable enough to them for them to pay the extra $100 a month or whatever it is, then they'll go with the next one.
Right.
So that's how I would structure plans, is different offerings have different add-ons.
Right.
So like the best one obviously has everything, and then you kind of take away one or two things at each step. So, and if you had an either or would be like for coaches that don't offer nutrition. So like for online coaching for us, we just have an either or option. One has like a monthly call check-in. One is just you get daily video feedback with no monthly call.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just like a simple thing of like, if you want a little bit more hand holding, like we have it. And so that's what I would find. That's what I find being the best use cases for the two different types of offerings, and not just having one offer, and not just having, you don't want 6 offers with every bell and whistle. It's getting really clear so someone can make an informed decision and not stay on that pricing sheet, for too long and have paralysis by analysis. Yeah.
So best practices for services, features to add or remove, like you're a remote coach, so you kind of only have limited, maybe you don't even do nutrition.
Yeah.
I'm a one-man show. I've got, remote coaching, which is $200 a month, and I kind of include once a month check-in, maybe twice a month check-in, and then video review on a regular basis. What would you suggest for someone in that position to be like, here's how to build out a little more of an offering for this?
Yeah, I mean, for remote coaching, it's easy. It's just like have your best offer include a check-in or two, like a face-to-face call, like a 30 or 45-minute check-in call. And then also have it include your daily feedback and all that stuff and the programming you do on a weekly or daily basis. And then the lower offer would just be lesser calls or access to your group call instead.
Right.
And then the normal process. But that's what I would look at for a one-person team. Again, you're not paying someone to execute the call for you, so it's just time. So making sure your time is being valued, you're charging for that time. And that would be the easiest way to build out your offer. So that it's enough of a price adjustment where people can make a good educated decision, and you're not going to have people kind of hem and haw about it. You can be prescriptive, but there's not like paralysis by analysis. And that's why I'd like the idea of telling them what they need based on what they've already told you. Because again, someone who's just starting up and it's online, like they're going to need a lot more help. That highest level is probably what they need. Right. And just from the get-go telling them do that. So I'd say ultimately, if you're listening to this, like follow the sales steps. I'd also create somewhat, a clean pricing presentation with your offers on them. And then practice, rewatch your videos. Just take as many sales calls as you can. Not be afraid, just like let it flow and just continue to analyze and get better through the repetitions. That's the only way to success.
Nice. Cool.